In this episode of Man vs. Marriage, another episode that you don't want to miss. We're going to have Jason and Tina Marie from legendaryrelationship.com right after this. See you on the other side. Welcome back to another episode of Man vs. Marriage. It is I, the Q Dog, in the Moran family studio with my lovely wife, Jeannie Moran. Jeannie.
What?
What's up, baby?
Not much. What you doing, baby?
Today, I'm going to refer to you as Jeannie Marie.
No, you're not.
Because our special guest.
No, you're not.
I guess
You are not going to two-name me. I only get two names when I am in trouble. You are not going to use my middle name.
Okay, I'll defer to your expertise there. So welcome to this episode, guys. We have special guests on for you today, and we are very, very excited to have the purveyors of legendaryrelationship.com and Manifest a Joy-Filled Relationship. So you're going to enjoy this episode incredibly, and we look forward to getting to meet them. We were on earlier just getting to know one another, and Miss Tina Marie said, we like to do this like we're having dinner. And Jason said, yeah, we're having a great conversation, and y'all are going to ear hustle in on it. So this will be an open discussion. It'll be a discovery call, and we look forward to getting to know some folks that are doing great work in the marriage space. So always love bringing you people that add value and create a positive impact in marriage. So before we get started, make sure that you continue to utilize the email address. It's quincy@mvsmpodcast.com and go to quincymoran.com/apparel and look at all the things that we are doing to impact culture in a positive way. And you can check out the shirts. We have them out there. These shirts, when you walk out into public, you will know whether you're at the gym or you're in airports, like Gina and I know quite well. People are reading your shirts. They're reading you like a billboard. And so they may come up to you and ask you some questions. So being that this podcast has had a positive impact on your relationship, go out and pay it forward, because that's how we create change and we foster stronger relationships, is give the testimony and lead by example. Anything else from you on there, honey?
Nope.
All right. Life is good. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring our guest on. Jason and Miss Tina Marie Scott, welcome to Man vs. Marriage. Great to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. We're
What
really,
a privilege
really
to
excited
be
about it.
here.
Yes. Love your intro, though. I love that. That's beautiful. The beautiful photos and stuff. Really, we love what you're doing for marriage and relationships, man. I know we're going to get into it, but thank you so much for what you do.
And thank you for
Hey.
having us.
You're welcome. It's great to have you. And just so you know, listeners, I'm very transparent. They have had a lot of grace with me because I'm not the greatest at scheduling. So they were very, very gracious to me. And after I said, hey, I'm going to go check out the program, and then a mind lapse of about a month or 6 weeks. And I thought about it one day. I was like, oh, shoot. I told them I was going to go check out their podcast, which I'm glad I did. And I'm really thankful that you guys came on the program today. And so what I really love to do is to give you the floor, and I would love to hear your story. I mean, even as far as the floor is yours. Talk to me about how you met, how long you've been married, what you do, and then we're going to tell our audience how to get in contact with you and present to them the things that you do. So I will hand it over to you, Jason and Miss Tina Marie. The floor is yours.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you.
Thank you.
So, as you announced, we are Jason and Tina Marie Scott. We are certified in life relationship coaches. We are an Amazon best-selling authors of Manifest a Joy-Filled Relationship. Thank God. So we are co-founders of Legendary Relationship. We are also the host of Loving Beyond the I Do podcast, which people say, well, what's the name? So usually when you get married, it's I do. So we named it Loving Beyond the I Do because that's when the real work starts. We are
Yes.
keynote speakers, and we are the parents of 3 amazing young adults. We've been married for over 3 decades, 33 years to be exact. And so
Yes.
we love just experiencing life together and enjoying each other each and every day because tomorrow's not promised. So we say, let's live today like it's our last day. So that's every day because you really don't know.
Yeah, and what we do is we strive to inspire and empower individuals with actionable strategies and insightfulness to develop meaningful and fulfilling relationships. And we do that by universal principles, effective communication, and mindset shift. So really, it's a whole big approach of really changing the way we think and how we view things to make our relationships better. So now, how do we meet, baby? You want to tell your version? You want me to tell my version? Because my version is more interesting.
Okay, so you tell your version. All right, you tell your version since it's more interesting.
All right, so my version is
Since we're at dinner. And
That's
we're
right.
filling them in.
Right. So what happened was my friend had met her friend at a party about a week before. And they were supposed to go out or whatever, which was fine. And then he said,
The
hey,
two friends.
The two
His
friends.
friend and my friend. We're
Right.
supposed to go out.
So he said, hey, Jay, you want to go to the movies? And I said, sure. So we went to the movies. I did not know that he was supposed to take the young lady to the movies. So then after the movies, we went over there. And he said, oh, before we go, she said she has a friend, but she wouldn't like you. I said, oh, really? I said, oh, man, this on. I said, right now, it's on and popping. I said, all right, let's go on up in here.
So on the
That's
flip,
right.
on the flip side of that, my friend was home by herself because her parents were out of town. So she said, Tina, would you mind, just coming over here until the guy picks me up so I'm not home alone? And I said, sure. And I said, well, what time is he supposed to be there? And she was like, maybe around 1 or 2. So I came early, 12. And so 12 passes, 1 passes, 2 passes.
Because we're at the movies.
3 passes, 4, 5 o'clock. And I'm like, and this was before cell phones, right? And so I'm like, well, where's the guy? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, so she's like, well, he said he would be here. We're going to go out to the movies. We're going to go have dinner. I think they arrived like at 7:30. It was dark outside. And
After the movies.
I was past 10. I was so hot.
So then I walk in, I'm hot because she not gonna like me, right? So I have nothing to lose, right? So,
That's right. I love it. Nothing to lose.
Right. So he's coming in with the chip on his shoulder,
Yep.
and I'm upset because I'm like, you shouldn't even answer the door. This guy said he was going to be here, and you shouldn't even let them in. And I'm like, well, what is he doing with someone? And so she was like, oh, he had a friend with him. So she was like, no, I can't do that. I can't be rude. So when they came in, my lips were tight, probably really red, and they came in laughing and joking as if like
we had fun at the movies.
they were laughing and joking as if nothing was wrong. I was just really perplexed. I was like, what's going on? Like,
So that's how it all started. So it was just a bunch of animosity in the room.
sarcasm.
Everything was just flowing. I mean, it was just a melting pot of mess going back and forth. So she was mad. I didn't, then I got into it kind of with her friend. I made a joke about her Kool-Aid or whatever, and she took it sideways. So it became a little issue. So Tina was over there polishing her fingernails. So I said, you need some help?
Yeah.
I can help you polish your nails. She said, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, hey, look, I grew up with 3 sisters. I know how to polish some fingernails, right? I'm like, so I dropped down on one knee and I started polishing a nail. And then my buddy goes, Jay, what are you doing, man? You're embarrassing me. I'm like, oh man, I got this. This is nothing, right? So I was polishing a nail and I looked into her eyes. I said, man, you got some beautiful eyes, right?
He tried to do.
Right. I mean,
The game came out right away.
He was trying to play the game, right?
Right. So,
That's
But
right.
I wasn't having it.
I mean, I wasn't
So
either.
there was so much craziness going on that Jason and I just decided to give my friend and his friend an opportunity for them just to talk. So we decided to go for a walk. So he and I left, and during that time, I was on my way off to college. And he had just broken up with his girlfriend. So the whole night, he really just talked about his
That's it.
ex-girlfriend.
Yep.
And it was great because we had really an authentic conversation. It wasn't about him trying to hit on me or get to know me. It was just like as if we really knew each other, and he was just expressing, he was hurt. He was really hurt.
I was hurt, and I was throwing up all over. I didn't know any better, I guess. I wasn't looking for anything, so I was just being honest and vulnerable, right? So, but I did enjoy hanging out with her. As we only had a month to be together, right? Really, because you're going to school in January. So we ended up spending from that point forward, and when she actually called me, which I said, "You're not going to call me," and then I kind of
then he played another game. He was like, "If I give you my number, you're going to call me?" And in my mind, I was like, "Absolutely not."
And I'm like, "Well, don't take it if you're not going to call." So I'm playing this psychological game, right?
He kept saying, don't take it if you. Well, are you really going to call? Well, don't take. That's okay. Because you're not going to call. I'm like, I'm going to call. He was like, "No, you're not. Okay, that's all right. I'm not going to give it to you." And so he kept saying, "Well, promise that you're going to call." And I'm a person of my word. And so, because at first, if he had just asked me once, I'd have been like, "Yeah, okay." And
I saw it on your face.
So we actually, I called him because I stuck to my words. I called him, and we just, again, had a good conversation. And we talked every day until it was time for me to go to school. And I think it was just a really good friendship. But he didn't know that, but he got stuck in the friend zone.
Yeah, because I wanted to change the dynamics of the relationship later on down the road. And I was good with the friend, and she was an excellent friend, right? But then I saw her as more. And I was like, well, I just got to tell her, right? I'm ready, I'm ready to be more than friends. So I told her. And I was stuck there. I don't know how long. I think I have PTSD about the friend zone, to be honest, because I was in that thing way too long, right?
So we were friends for 2 years, and when I went off to college, my college roommate was like, because I kept saying, I was like, I think he's starting to like me, and she was like, Tina, he definitely likes you, and so I said, but I only see him as a friend, and then after I got out of college, and we were friends for 2 years, and then we dated for 2 years, and then I started sending out invitations to our wedding. And when I saw my college roommate, she was like, what happened? Last time I talked to you, you were like, I only see him as a friend. Now I'm getting an invitation to a wedding, like something. I was like, so as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah.
But I think that was the best thing because we built a genuine friendship.
Yeah.
Which allowed us to show each other who we really were.
Yeah.
Our strength, our weaknesses without pretending. Oftentimes you get into relationships and you wear this mask and you're not really that person. And so gradually you start coming out and then the other person goes, well, who is this? Where did this person come from? But it gave us an opportunity to just let our hair down and just be totally honest with each other. And then when he started, as they say now, catching feelings, at least he was open about it, right?
I was.
But it really did give us an opportunity to become friends. And I think that's one of our highest attributes as a couple, because when we do fall into that category of having issues as a couple, we can fall back on the friendship.
That's right.
So it allows us to kind of...
Wait a minute. Are you telling me just because you have a podcast about marriage, your marriage isn't perfect and you never have any problems?
Boy, listen.
I think you put no.
So
Absolutely.
I want to tell you.
That's right.
We were about 30 episodes in, and we had an issue with a plate, right? So our first 30 episodes, that plate kept coming up, and it was funny because our listeners was going, "Is it about that plate again?" Because I would love cookies. I love cookies. I would bake cookies in the evening sometime. I would eat them in the bedroom, and then I would go through our bedroom on the way to the kitchen, but I would leave the plate on the bathroom counter.
And then go into the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like the bathroom is on the way to the kitchen.
I didn't know it was an issue because the next day it would be gone.
And then, but I would be like, why does he leave the plate in the bathroom when
that's you and your socks when we got married? His socks, like he'd come home, he'd take his shoes off, and his socks would drop wherever his shoes were, and they would stay there. And it was just like the hamper is like right there.
Right.
It's like 5 feet. It's right there. You could have thrown them in the hamper, and it would have made it. It used to infuriate me. But then we had kids, and then they started taking his socks for him, so he got left.
Yes.
But it's things like
I did negotiate that. Yep.
But it's and really, I always refer to, I don't know what movie it is. I'm gonna have to find out what movie it is. We were married, and it was a couple, and the man got remarried, and the ex-wife asked the second wife, I just want to know, how do you handle, him with the toothpaste, because he does it from the top or somewhere. And she said, well, I don't have that problem. We have 2 separate tubes, right? It's how we decide to solve an issue. It's not the
Love
issue
that.
itself. So the first, wife they got divorced over a tube of toothpaste because she used to get upset because of the way he did it. And the second wife said, well, we don't even have that problem because he has his tube and I have mine, and it's not an issue, right? So yeah, issues are marriage. I think another name for marriage should be issues, right?
Yeah,
Right?
that's a fair
Because-
point. That's a fair point.
When we talk to couples or when we're on our, just in general, just talking, why do we have the concept that two individual people with 2 separate lives, 2 separate identities, 2 ways of handling things, when we come together, everything is just going to be like peachy keen?
Yep.
It's
Not gonna
crazy.
happen.
It's just crazy. Why do we think that? Oh, I want to find the perfect man, and when we get married, everything's going to be great.
Blissful and
Oh,
wonderful.
well, that's, I'm going to stick a pin in that. That's a balloon theory.
It is
know?
for about a week.
It
That's
is.
it.
It is for about a week. You get past the honeymoon and the first week of living together when you haven't lived together. It's
Yeah.
different.
Well,
It's different.
and it's very. Here's what I really appreciate is I appreciate the transparency and that you talk about. There are still solutions that need to be created. There's still things that need to be resolved in your relationship, and having a podcast doesn't mean you never have any problems. It makes me think about, I was an assistant pastor for a while, and I think there's a misconception is that, hey, the pastor has no problems. He's got it all figured out. and a lot of times, the pastor, he or she is preaching to themselves as much as they're preaching to the congregation.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And so it's like, and that's part of like what our podcast is about. We create enough content just to continue the podcast probably into eternity.
Right.
And it's like, hey, this is real life stuff. And we've done episodes like one that was really challenging for us is who decides when we have sex. And
Okay.
I'm like, hey, I want to know this. And so the first episode got very, very heated. Like it was raw. And, it had to end abruptly because my daughter was like, I have to go to work and you need to take me to work. So she kind of burst in the room and it's like, okay,
Yep.
well, I guess we'll put a pin in it there. But then we came back to it because it's important, for me, it's important. And I believe Jeannie, the same, is that we show you there's going to be conflict. So how do you resolve this conflict? How do you reconcile your relationship? And we just kind of put it out there to say, this is how we do it. And it doesn't always get resolved in one podcast.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Or in one day or 1 week or 1 year.
Yep.
That's right.
Right.
And so I really appreciate the story. I love the story. So Jeannie and I, honey, do you want to take how we met?
Nope. You tell your version first.
Okay.
It's gonna be right anyway, Quincy. So you go ahead and start it.
That's it. That's right. That's the gospel right there. So I was born out in Alabama, and when my parents got divorced, my mom was originally from California, so we went out there, and I lived there for a while, and then kind of back and forth between the states, and I ended up getting a job, and so what's really cool about this is my first day on this particular job was Jeannie's last day on the job.
Which I didn't show up for.
She didn't show up. She went to Vegas.
I was at a friend's house in Vegas. I wasn't coming in. I was going to get all my sick days paid for, so I might as well use them.
But she called in to get her last sick day, and I took the phone call. And I had never met her, didn't know who she was, and somehow eventually ended up marrying her. And so a mutual friend of ours from that place where we worked, said, hey, I want to set you up with somebody. She had a boyfriend at the time. And I said, okay. And so he goes, I don't know when we're going to do it, but I was babysitting for him and his wife. And they had, how many kids did they have at the time? Was it 4 kids, 5 kids?
No, they had 6.
6 kids. That's right. They had 6 kids and 2 kids were in diapers. And I was like, hey, bro, I'm happy to babysit, love kids, but I need some help with these kids in diapers. I'm like 19 years old. I'm like, I need some help here.
Right.
And so he goes, well, here's this girl that I know. She used to work actually at the place. And I saw the 3x5 card, and it was like prayer, school, Bible study. I'm like, I don't know what this chick looks like, but on paper, she's hot. I'm in. And so it came to the night for me to babysit, and he was going to bring her in to babysit. I got so nervous that I brought 2 friends with me. And because I knew it was a setup. Yeah, I had to.
Meaning I didn't really have to be there.
It's true.
Right.
Mhm.
So she walked in, and I'm going to tell the story from this vantage point because, Jason, you and I can connect on this point. At the time, not on this point, but the next one. At the time, I was about 315 pounds. You just very overweight, very jovial and joyful. But when I met her for the first time, she's supermodel status. So I walked into the room with one of the kids on my back. I wanted to cruise through to see this girl that I had never seen before. And when I laid my eyes on her, I instantly got mad. I was mad. I was like, I'm so far out of this girl's league. What is this dude thinking, setting me up with her? So that relieved me of any pressure. I knew I had no chance with her. And so it was like, well, that's off the table. So now I can just be myself. And so we sat and we talked and we talked and we talked. And it was some of the best conversation I had ever had in my life. Now, I didn't know this, but on her way in, there were pagers when we started dating. So we're we're a little ahead in the technology sector from when you guys got together.
Pagers, right.
But she was supposed to go on a date with her boyfriend that night. And she was just coming over to get the young ones that needed diaper changes in bed. And then she was going to split. Well, he decided he wanted to go on a break. So right before she came over, they got on a break. We were on a break. So it's like it all fell in line. And then I wasn't even worried about asking her for her phone number. I figured it was a done deal, but we had a lot of fun, talking and connecting, and we had worked at the same place, so we could complain about the same people, but the one thing was like, oh, I want to get married. I want to get married too. I want to have a big family. Oh, I want to have a big family. I like sports. I like hunting. I like fishing. And it was all like, wow, this is crazy. So before the night was over, she was like, hey, can I get your number? And I was like, inside, I'm like, oh yeah, you can get my number. But I was like, yeah, sure, you can have my number. And so it's like from that day on, the next day, we have been inseparable. Now there was a point where we almost didn't get married because our religious doctrine didn't line up.
Okay.
I almost walked away from her from that. I grew up in the Church of God down in Alabama, and women aren't supposed to wear pants, and
I've worn pants just about every day.
And you were
we're not supposed to have tattoos, hair color, or makeup, and I am from the neck down covered in tattoos. I color my hair and I wear makeup, so that all went out the window.
It's very interesting too because God gave us 7 daughters, so I think He was trying to reinforce something there to me. But it was very interesting how it came about. So I just having that. I say that we can relate to that part of the story, Jason, because it took the pressure off of me. And then I could just see past, like, there's no expectation here, but for me to have fun. I love to make people laugh. She's gorgeous. She has a great laugh and a beautiful smile. So I'm just going to keep entertaining her as much as I can. And then something happened. And so what's your version, honey? Let's hear this.
No, you're right up to that point. I mean, everything that you said is pretty accurate. I wasn't walking in there looking for anything. Manny didn't tell me that he was setting me up. He just said, I have a babysitter that needs help. He doesn't know how to deal with the younger ones. One of them was still being bottle fed, and one of them was potty training, and for whatever reason, liked to use the closet. So we had to figure out how to fix that problem.
Wow.
But we had really good conversation. The guy that I was with at the time, he's right, called me and was like, we need to go on a break. He was getting ready for college. Different things were coming up. And we had talked about it in the beginning, and I just told him, I said, I'm not going to break it off with him. This is his decision. He has to make the decision because I wasn't the one that gave up. So Quincy and I started out just being friends, hanging out. We stayed with groups. We didn't really spend a lot of time by ourselves. But we had a lot in common. And shortly thereafter, the guy I was dating called me over to, basically let me out of the whole situation, which was great because I was trying to figure out how I was going to backpedal out of this anyway. And he ended up breaking things off with me, and I went straight to Quincy that day and was like, "It's done. We're good. Let's go. We've got this. We're moving forward." So
wow,
we dated for about 6 weeks, and then I don't know, we were certain. He went to my dad, asked permission to court me properly, with the intent that we wanted to get married. He didn't want to just date around and do things the way they do things now. And 6 months later, we were engaged, and then we waited a year to get married because I wanted to be married on my great grandmother's birthday. And we haven't been apart. I mean, even if he's gone for work or whatever, we're on the phone at least 3-4 times a day. We don't really separate for any length of time.
wonderful.
Yeah, that's been. So that's kind of how the beginning started for us. Now, the next thing I would love to know just a little bit more about you guys is what caused you to start the podcast?
Okay. So it's a couple of things that really kind of, people always ask you, hey, what's your, you guys seem to have a great relationship and things are going well. I want that. How do I get that? So we would always kind of help people with that.
So it was sort of like just after years of giving people relationship advice and the insights and the wisdom and, telling them about the challenges that we faced or even how to get through their challenges, we finally just realized, we're going to answer God's calling. We're just going to,
Yes.
Yep.
So we started being an instrument to the institution of marriage and relationships. And that's kind of how the podcast started. Jason was like, okay, well, podcasts are pretty popular. Let's start doing a podcast. And I was like, a podcast?
Right.
And he was like, yeah. So
well, let me back up a step because we were head of our church's married couples ministry. And we had and I was very nervous about that because we've been around a while, but there were people that were married as long as we were on this earth. So I'm like, how do we get them to follow us? And they have so many years of marriage. Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, because we had been a part of the married couples ministry since we were like maybe 4 years married. Mm-hmm. And so now I think we were maybe married maybe 17 or 20 years. And we now elevated up to being the president of the married couples ministry. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. As Jason said, Jason was like, there's people.
I'm like, I don't know. But you know what? When the Lord puts something on you, you just have to follow it, right? So we kept the faith and we just followed it. And we had some great outings, different because we brought a different vibe.
Yeah, we just had fun.
Yeah, we did. We just had fun. I told them, I said, this was going to be our mantra. We were going to do a lot of hand holding, a lot of hugging, a lot of kissing in public. So if you don't want to do that, you might not want to come to our events.
That's right.
So we just, started just feeling comfortable in that role, and it just really evolved. So that was one of the things that really
started.
Perpetuated us into it. So we was just like, okay, this might work, And so, like I said, we just finally answered God's call because, you can run away from it or you can say, maybe not. But the truth is that you're going to keep getting faced with it regardless. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were, we have 2 boys and a daughter, and our boys play baseball, and we would be at baseball games and sitting in the stands, right? And
talking about relationships.
Right. Somebody would say, well, hey, let me ask you a question. And when I would ask Jason, like, do we have like a sign on our back? Like, why are people asking us that?
Anytime a gentleman say, hey, AJ, can I talk to you for a minute? I'm like, I bet you're going to say something about a relationship, something.
I mean, it was really weird because one couple was like 9:00 at night. The kids were in the bed. We were in the bed. And we got a phone call, and they wanted to come over and talk. So we're sitting at our kitchen table ministering to a couple, and I was just like, wow, like, what is this about? And I think at that time our boys may have been 11 and 12 years old, and right now they're 30 and 31. So
it's been a while.
It's just been throughout our marriage, and I think, like I said, Jason and I, we really just it was meant to be, because even though we were friends, I saw qualities in him that I knew were what I wanted in a husband. I was like, he would be a great
Yes.
father, and he would be a great husband, and we would be a great team. And so, just by spending time together and really realizing that, like you guys said, we had a lot of things in common. And a lot of things different. Like I
Very
like
much
fruity
so.
pebbles. I like fruity pebbles. He
I like
likes cocoa pebbles.
Yep. Well, we got some differences
I'm a salt person. He's a sweet person.
Yep.
So, but we have a lot of standards, morals, things that we value. God, a lot of those things are in common, and I think we were just meant to be together.
Yeah, we were in alignment in so many different areas in our lives, and we're so young. I mean, we got married extremely young, but we a lot of our visions and our upbringings were like intermingled. We were both the youngest in our families. We were both kind of favored in our families. So when we got together, I mean, like it was just like we were all in alignment. Things were going well. We can easily talk to each other. So no matter what, we could always just overcome, situations. And we also sought out information, right? So not just going to an elderly couple, right? We went to retreats, we read books, we went to workshops. We actually learned about marriage. So the thing is the reason why you can't have a successful marriage is because you don't know how to be married, right? You know how to
Yes,
be
right. Come
single.
on.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we had to learn how to be married. So we went and we got the knowledge and we learned, and then we did trial and error. Right. And then you add kids, and then that's an extra pull on the relationship. So now we're dealing with marriage, myself, herself, and then the kids.
And then in-laws.
And then in-laws, because then when we bought a house, my mother moved in with us, right? So then that was that. But then my mother started taking Tina's side, and I didn't understand that.
But we've never he valued family, I valued family. So when we bought our first home, my family was over here so much that the neighbors didn't even know who owned the house. Every weekend we were just having parties and barbecues, and my nieces and nephews, and we just had a really grand time. His family would come over, and so we both valued family time. It was so many things that just aligned for us that we still had our issues.
Yeah.
How we're going to handle things, but
Yeah.
when you take the negative with the positive and you realize that challenges are going to be inevitable. You're going to have challenges in life, because whether you're married or single, you're going to have challenges in life. It's just all about how you decide to handle them. And I know for Jason and I, what we, when we're talking about issues, and I can let you talk about this, Jason, how we handle issues, how we decided to handle issues, and then how we teach other. And it's not that the issue is between us. So go
Right.
ahead.
Yeah. So we never let the issue be between us, right? So what we do is we say we take the issue and sit it out in front, and then we come together and then we tackle the issue, because it's hard to deal with an issue between you and you trying to look around it. Right. So we're trying to
That's
get
right.
the problem away from us so we can come together and say, listen, this is my view of the issue and this is your view. How can we collectively fix this where we both can be happy? I ain't saying about win, lose, or anything like that, but I have to, one, understand how she feels and vice versa. And then from that point, then I can look at the challenge a lot differently. So once we do that, now we can come together. It's like now it's not like I had to win, and then I take this little challenge and put on my side because I won, right?
Right, so
now it's sitting out there, and then we still coming together as we're troubleshooting this issue that we're going through.
And we tell people it's not a win. Our outlook is that you want every challenge to be a win-win situation, which means that it's not a win-lose situation. When we're tackling an issue and I have to be right and he has to be wrong, or vice versa, then it's a win-lose situation, which means that, I won that argument. I was right. Which means that when it's a win-lose situation, nobody really wins, because the relationship takes a hit.
Yep.
Because now
That's
we're
right.
keeping score. But if it's a win-win situation, it's okay, let's put it in front. This is how I view it. This is how I view it. This is what I think. This is what I think. Okay, so now how do we come to a consensus of the right way we're going to handle it? And I don't like to use compromise. I don't like to use the word compromise, even though, back there it kind of says compromise. And I was like, we could use a better word. But because compromise also kind of gives an indication that someone has to lose, right? Coming to an ulterior motive of how we're looking at the problem. Let's decide on how can we look at it in a different perspective, have empathy about it, and then come to a solution where both of us feel okay with it. Because you really do have to get to a point with agreeing to disagree.
Right.
Everyone's not right all the time. Everyone's not wrong. It's just our perspective. It's our background. It's our experiences. It's how we view things. And sometimes we have to get off our mountain and come down and go around to the other side and say, okay, let me look at this problem from your perspective.
Right.
Why do you think that way? How are you seeing it?
And that's where the growth came in when we said, you know what, because my view is right. I know that going in. I know that what I'm looking at and what I'm saying is 100% correct. Right, and that's what we hang on, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, Tina says, no, well, look at it this way, and I go, well, okay, yeah, I can understand that now, and that's where, like I said, that's where the growth came in when I was able to say, I have my point of view, and I'm strong in my point of view, and Tina Marie is the same thing. She's strong in her point of view, but just because I'm looking at it from her point of view does not diminish my point of view.
Right.
So I'm not losing anything by looking at it. It's just a better understanding. Now I can say, oh, okay, I can see where you would think that way, and this is where I was thinking, and then we put that together, and then we can come up with a solution. And that's how we were able to come through it. Now, sometimes it was a little harder than others, but that's how we basically got through a lot of our challenges.
Once we get later in life. In the beginning, it may not have been that easy.
That's right. That's right.
Wisdom, age and wisdom is a teacher.
Not speaking and walking through the house trying to avoid each other. Yeah.
It sounds like they took standing outside the frame and built it themselves rather than having the third party read everything.
Yeah, and that's something I was going to commend you guys on, because we have a process where, you know, we would have listeners email in, and I'm helping them, you know, over the email. And what I came to realize, I think something the Lord really revealed to me, is it's like you are so attached emotionally to what's going on in your life or the challenge that you're facing,
right,
that you can't think logically about it.
Absolutely.
And so I was like, you know, I have a hard time working through my problems, but if a friend of mine comes to me and says, hey, here's what's going on in my life, I can fix every problem he's got. I can see it.
Because you're not emotionally attached to it. Right.
That's right. And so I was like, okay, Lord, I'm going to try this. And so I would tell people, hey, can I use this email? We keep our listeners anonymous. We use Jack and Jill, you know, for their names. Mm-hmm. And it's like, are you good if I use this? I'm going to read it out loud, and I want you to listen to it over during the podcast. And Jeannie and I will have an open discussion talking about what we see, what is our experience, and what are our thoughts. And then you can email me back once you listen to it, and we'll work through the process. And it's been very, very successful. And it looks like you guys have done that with whatever your challenge is. You try to emotionally detach yourself from it and then look at it standing outside of the frame. And I think the beauty is, you know, Jason, like you're alluding to, you're not just fixed on your perspective, which is a right 100% of the time. You're not just, you know, focused on your perspective, but you actually gain a lot of value by getting another perspective on the same challenge. Yep. And that can help you grow, and maybe you evolve from that. And now you look at life differently, and someone else's perspective has now made you stronger. It's made you better. It's added value to your life. And so I really commend you guys for that. I think it's a brilliant approach, because we're doing it for listeners, but this is even an upgrade for Jeannie and I. So thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome. You know, we after we came out with the book, we use a manifest framework, and that's the MANIFEST, and E stands for empower, right? To empower people to take on the role of solving. So many times people want you to solve their marriage issues because they want to be right. Most people go to counseling or therapy because they're like, well, this is what my husband's doing and this is what my wife is doing, and I want you to tell him that this is not the way to do it. So they want someone to prove that they're right, and it's not right.
We have one of those currently in
I'll tell you, and that's a great segue.
I'm the wrong one to come to and say, I need you to side with. No, ma'am, I'm not going to side with you. I'm going to show you where you're at,
right,
and where your part of this plays, And then I usually get in trouble because people get mad at me, but I don't, that's the whole
You just
point
have to
though.
learn how to sugarcoat it. Right?
No, no,
I'm just kidding.
I don't.
I know.
I don't put any sugar out there. If you can't look, if you're legit and you're coming to somebody and you're saying, this is my situation and I want my marriage to work, and then you're going to tell me my wife does XYZ and I need to know how to get her back to this point, or my husband's doing XYZ and I want you to tell me this is my favorite. What did you do? How did you get over? Okay, then I'm going to tell you what I did. What I did was I went to a coach, somebody I trusted. I told her what we were dealing with. We sat in front of her together and bled out everything that we had going on. And the first thing she said to me was, it ain't his fault.
Exactly.
How you feel is not his fault.
Exactly.
How you feel is your responsibility, and you need to determine what are you going to do with it, because he's going through his own stuff, and how you're talking to him or how you're pointing things out to him and constantly reminding him of you don't do whatever, you're just adding to the pile. You're not helping the situation. You're adding to the situation.
Absolutely.
If you want to fix it, you got to shut up.
Or you have to fix yourself. Yeah.
The first part of it was I had to be quiet. I had to stop saying things that were hurtful. I had to stop saying things in a certain manner because he wasn't receiving it in the way that he needed to be listened to and spoken to. And people don't, we find myself, I'll speak for me. I won't say what he's got to say, but I find that there are people that are just like, well, I just wanted you to tell me that I'm right in this, and then they have the right to be mad about whatever, or they have the right to be and it's like, I'm not going to give you that. If you're coming to me about someone else, I'm not helping the someone else. The someone else is not here. If they are not here and they're not invested, why am I putting my energy out? But if you're coming to me and you want help and you want somebody to show you, what did I go through? This is what I went through. I had to go through a hard truth of, you need to shut up. You need to be supportive. You need to stop pointing things out that he already knows he's struggling with. Stop picking at that wound. He already knows. So now what's my side of everything is, what can I do? How do I become the helpmate that he needs me to be? How do I help him while he goes through this struggle? And then what do I have to do to stop allowing it to hurt me? And people they get mad. They get real mad because they everybody wants their feelings to be validated. And it's not that you're not validated. It's that you don't have to be right. If you want to be right, you can be lonely.
Yeah.
Well,
I say this, and I know it's funny because I say this to couples. I said, okay, I can give you everything that you want right now. I said, what if I side with you and tell you everything that you're telling me I agree with? Does that make you feel any better? They go, not really. I said, exactly. So agreeance is not what you need. You need to self-reflect. So
that's right.
We create a problem at a certain level. Now, if you want to fix that problem, you have to rise above that, because you cannot fix the problem at the level in which it was created. So if you don't elevate above that, you're never going to see how to fix it.
Or I like to say, like what you were saying, Jeannie, when you were talking about issues. So, when you're pointing out your mate's flaws or problems. And so, we had a couple that said, well, can you tell me why a person who wants peace doesn't give peace? And I said the same reason why a person who wants love doesn't give love. And we don't see that. So we come in at an energy of down here. So I'm upset because I feel unloved, unvalued, unappreciated. So I'm really vibrating out an energy that I'm upset. I feel unworthy. I feel unloved. I want you to love me. So I'm going to give you all this hate feelings, but I want you to come up here at a love level. I want you to give me love when I'm giving you hate. And that's just unrealistic. You're going to give back what you give out. And so if you want love, we have to rise to the level of love. So if I want to be more loved, if I want him to give me more understanding, I have to be more loving. I have to be more understanding. I have to be it first. I can't look for my mate to fill me up, and then that means I'm giving him the power, him or her, which means that if I give you the power to make me unhappy, I give you the power to make me happy, sad, joyous. So you have the power. You're dictating how I'm going to feel. And so we're supposed to come into a relationship already happy, already
right.
healthy, already whole. If I'm looking for you to fill me up, then what am I bringing to the real? If I'm empty, then I'm
Exactly.
constantly taking from you. What am I giving in return? So we have to understand in relationships, we have to be what we're seeking. I can't expect to give hate and receive love. I can't expect to give attention or for me to give him the silent treatment, but then he's just going to surround me with all this wonderful things. It just doesn't happen that way. So as I'm
That's right.
pointing out your flaws, the only thing you're going to do is point out my flaws. But if we understand it's not what we're doing, it's how do we stop doing what we're doing? Let's take
Well,
our
that's
Get
where
what
eye.
we want.
Yeah, let's
that's
take
where
our
we
eye off
went
the
with it.
issues.
It's like we Quincy and I started ours when we started our counseling, and then we started the podcast. The biggest impact in the very beginning was figuring out what the love language was between the two of us. And he and I are very similar. Not everybody is. And so when we started working with some of these couples, it's like that's why my coach told me I needed to shut up, because at the time, one of his top ranking was words of affirmation. Well, an affirmation can come in a confirmation of something bad. It could come
Absolutely.
in a confirmation of something good. It's how you perceive what's being said. And that was the issue, was he was already struggling with his self-worth and not being enough and not providing enough, and things that he thought about himself that I was not aware of.
Exactly.
And the more I
Exactly.
kept harping on, we don't have the money for this. How are we going to take care of that? My fears were coming out. I was affirming to him everything he thought was true.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it made things worse because I'm not helping him. I'm
Exactly.
hurting him. And so
Exactly.
we've had to go back, and that's where we start with a lot of people. It's like, look, you're trying to love somebody the way you want to be loved, but they don't necessarily perceive it or receive it the same way. Like his favorite story to tell is quality time. When when we were first fixing our marriage, we had 8 children. All of them are little. Our kid, we have twins and triplets. So we have
Wow.
our oldest is 23 now. Our youngest is 17. They were all really close in age. They're 15 to 18 months apart all the way down the line. And I'm an at-home mom. I've always been an at-home mom. I homeschooled, did the whole 9, and he worked outside the house a lot. Any job he could get his hands on, he was doing whatever he needed to do.
Mhm.
And the hard part was he was gone doing what he thought I needed, but what I needed was him home. I needed somebody to balance the kids and the house and the stress, because we had a lot of trauma because our kids were preemie and things like that. So we had a lot going on, and we didn't have that communication built. So what I needed was quality time away from the kids and the chaos to connect with him. And yeah, I jokingly call it grown up time, because I had no grown up conversation. I had little people 5 and under at all times. And so when we went to our counselor, and she was like, okay, Quincy, I want you guys to have a date night. I want you to purposely plan date nights, and we'll go out. We went to the movies, and we did this several weeks in a row. And by about the third one, we had to do a weekly check-in to see how are we doing. Are we,
Right.
are we hitting the mark? And I was like, honestly, movies ain't doing it for me, because I'm sitting here watching a screen, not talking to you.
Right.
Right.
So there's really no interaction or connection. And then we come home. This is not quality time. And in his mind, I need to get away from everything. Going to see a funny movie would be great because you get to laugh, you get to have a good time, you don't have to worry about anything. But there was no connection. And by the time we figured out what it meant, what quality time looked like to me, I want to go to dinner. I want to sit and have a conversation. I want to talk about grown-up things. I want to talk about things that are not diapers and schoolwork and chaos in the house. I want to go be a grown-up, because I didn't get to do that when I was at home. And when we finally figured that out, it's like, oh, okay, so what you need is a break. One, which we didn't even think about it until the time, but one of those things was I needed quality time for myself. I
Yeah.
needed to pull out away from everybody and decompress so that I could give quality time to him. Because when he get home from work, I'm like, here's the kids. I'm out. This is all you. I quit. I'm done. Call me at 5 a.m. and we'll start over. But until then, this is your job. But that wasn't what we needed.
Yeah, that's one
Yeah.
of the biggest things when we talk about when we're trying to help couples with understanding love languages. right? So first of all, like you said, when you know what your love language is, you give how your love language is. So we have to tell people, first thing is you have to understand what your mate's love language is. But as you said, but what does that mean? So even in the process of knowing what your mate's love language is, you still don't know how to give that love the way they needed to receive it. And so it's not just, oh, I know my mate's love language. It's about, but what does that look like to them? How does it need to show up with them? What does that mean? How will they feel loved according to what you're giving? And then people say, oh, what is quality time? So we're going to go to a movie or sit at Netflix and chill. Okay. But again, is that what quality time means to them? And so, I mean, we totally understand that. And it's just getting other people to understand that it's not always as simple as going to the movies, because quality time for me means it could even, and sometimes I think some of the love languages overlap, right? It could be touching and feeling. It could be just being in the same space does not mean quality time. Right.
No,
so
it
if
does not.
we're in the same space at the same time, but you're on your phone or I'm watching a movie or you're doing this, then there's no quality in that time. We're just happen to be in the same space at the same time. So getting, as you said, getting couples to understand not only knowing what your love language is, but what does that look like to your mate? How do they receive that love?
Some of the guys will come back and they're like, I come home and I'm like, she's been with the kids all day and I'm listening to your podcast and you guys are talking about, helping her out and giving her some freedom. So they'll come home and they'll go do the dishes. They'll help with the laundry. They'll get the kids bathed so she can go have time to herself. And the whole time she's like, that's not what I want.
Right.
Because now I'm looking, because some of the women will come back and be like, now it looks like, well, I didn't get the dishes done, so you had to do it. And I didn't get the laundry done, so you had to do it. And like, I didn't do enough today. So you're just pointing it out by doing it yourself. And it's just like the guys come back and they're like, I don't get it. I thought that by doing these things and taking it off her plate,
that's
helping
what they
her.
And,
And they're like, they're emailing Quincy. What did I do wrong? I don't understand.
What?
It's like, you didn't ask her. What do you want? What does that look like? How it's right. You're right. You give what you want to receive. But at the same time, in order for me to get what I need from my husband, I have to give my husband what he needs from me. And it's not the same thing. In order to make that connection as impactful as possible, when we do have quality time, I have to meet him where he's at and give him what he needs. And he's got to meet me where I'm at and give me what I need. And when we do come together and have that quality time, it's 10 times better because we're on the same page. We're coming in with a full tank, not half empty.
And
go ahead, Quincy.
Thank you. I appreciate the failure. I really do. I'm very thankful that I got it wrong, because it's allowed me to help, when guys are like, hey, I'm doing this. It's not resonating with my wife. And then it gives me the opportunity to say, okay, so talk me through what you did. And it's like, okay, here's what I did. And I say, okay, why do you do that? Well, that's what I would want. I said, well, there you go.
There's your problem.
You're doing what you would want, instead of asking the question, like you've already said too, Miss Tina Marie, what does that look like? And then, so you're loving her the way you want to be loved. You're not loving her with what's going to connect with her in the way that she wants to be loved. And that, that role is reversed when, with the wife going to the husband. And so I really appreciate the failures, because I had to sit back and, I was going for an attaboy. It's like, hey, what do you think about this quality time? And she's like, really not working for me. And I'm like, what? You don't like it? And she's like, well, here's what I want. And I was like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. Because I'm at work all day. I'm talking to people constantly. I'm getting all the adult conversation I want all day long. And I'm like, if I could just veg out. Yeah. I'm like, if I could just veg out, this is what I would want. Somebody entertain me so I don't have to talk. But what it does is it enriches your relationship. It makes your connection that much deeper. Because if I'm asking you for a back rub, you want a foot rub, so you give me a foot rub. I might appreciate what you're doing, but it's not going to hit. It's not going to meet the need that I have. And so it's not going to resonate. And now you're going to get frustrated because it's like, well, I'm doing what you said you wanted. And so when it comes to the failures that we've had, I love to bring those things to the podcast. And I couldn't agree with you more, just taking one step back and saying, this journey in the way that we teach it, it sounds like the way that you teach it as well, or at least one aspect, is it all begins with personal responsibility.
Absolutely.
And, it's important for us to become aware of who the heck we are.
Yep.
And what is the self-talk going on in our mind? Where do we hold resentments? What is turned into bitterness? And how are we treating people according to that? And that is something that when you allow the Lord to really help you reflect on who am I and what am I doing? How do I operate? How do I talk to the people who love me? And what lens is that out of? You start to go, oh, wow, I did not realize X, Y, or Z. And so now I'm going to be more mindful of that. And it will be wonderful how the connection in your relationship starts to evolve when you simply start with personal responsibility and being aware of what you say in here and what comes out of your mouth. It's game changer to me.
I was going to say, just taking a step back, right? That also goes back to effective communication, which we sometimes don't realize. It's just a matter of, well, what is it that you need? Right? Effectively communicating. But we're always so dominant about what we need that we don't take the time to effectively communicate, say, well, what is it that you need? What is it? What does that look like for you? So it's effective communication. Also, people have to realize that there's no one size fits all. So what your wife needs, so if you say, oh, I came home and, I did the dishes and I did the clothes and everything was great, then someone else goes and does that. There's no one size fits all. We have to understand that each individual is uniquely made. So what works for me doesn't work for them. So I think, that's in that, the small print. Hey, just make sure that when you're finding out what your wife's love or husband's love language is, that you're taking the time to ask them, what does that look like for you? How do I show up differently? And again, when you talked about awareness, when we're talking about the manifest thing, the A that we deal with is awareness. We have to become aware. We can't change what we don't know. We can't change what we don't face. If we're not honest with ourselves and we take the time, like you said, hey, what am I saying? What am I doing? How do I need to sometimes just close my mouth instead of talking all the time or whatever? Right. So we have to become aware of our own actions in order to change them.
That's so true. And
I
thought it was a... Yeah, go for it. Yes, sir.
We did homeschooling as well, right? So we had 3 kids. We were homeschooling. Things were going great. Great communication between Tina and the kids. I come in, and we have our own business, so I come in, and I'm like a stranger in my own house. I'm here. They know who I am. We get along as a family, but I felt isolated because they were so close.
And I never knew that.
Right.
I thought everything was great, but then at the same time, I was spending so much time with the kids that I lost myself. I was like,
yep.
I need. So the homeschooling group was like, oh, we have mom's night. I'm like, I'm going. I'm just going to get out of here.
I'm like, why are you going to a bunch of strangers, baby? You can hang out here with us.
I just need to get, like you said, I need some adult conversation.
My free time was 3 hours in Walmart grocery shopping. That was my highlight of my week was give me the grocery list. Y'all keep the kids. I'm going to Walmart to be happy. That's not a good thing.
Right.
Walking through Walmart to be happy is not a good thing.
And so if you don't take the time to be like, I would have never known that he felt that way. It wasn't until years later that we started talking. He was like, I felt like a stranger. Like I felt isolated. Like you guys had your little thing going and I'm thinking.
I'll walk in and be like, hey, Dad. And then they just go back to talking.
Yep.
Hey.
So it's just understanding how sometimes we can just drift apart, but unintentionally. And then how do we get back together?
We were talking with a couple recently, and he was a sports fanatic, right? And he couldn't understand his communication. He's like, she's always yap, 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 and yap, yap. And I said, he's like, but I know how to effectively communicate. She can say it one time, and then that's it. I said, okay. I said, I'm going to put it in a sports analogy, right? So communication is like playing catch, right? So the ball is being thrown. There's a lot of things that can happen between this point and the point that the person you're throwing it to. Is it getting interfered? Is it getting deflected? Or what's going on? Is it being caught? He said, oh, it's definitely being caught. I said, okay. So now that it's being caught, And now when they throw it back, are you catching it or is it getting deflected? Or are you fumbling it? What are you
That's
doing
right.
with it? Right? It's
That's
a
right.
lot because you give it out, you got to make sure that they got it and you can, and they give it back to you. Right? So he was like, nah, I'm always catching. I'm like, I don't think so. But if you want to live with that and you want to be right, that's good. How is it working out for you? I was like,
That's
how's
right,
your program
Dr. Phil.
going?
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
but
right,
again,
Dr. Phil.
perspective,
Yeah.
right? Perspective.
Well,
we
we had-
always think we're right.
Yeah.
We always think that the other person is wrong. We think that
Yep.
we're doing the right thing. I hear you. Yeah, you're saying the same thing, but
Yep.
you're not catching it because
Nope.
communication is about understanding what the person is saying. The whole point of communication is I want to communicate something to you. I want you to know something. So if I'm giving it and you're not understanding it the way I'm sending it out there, if we're not understanding the same thing, then there is some interference.
Yeah, you playing catch with somebody else because
You know-
it ain't coming to me at all.
Yeah, like
It
you
ain't
said.
That's
coming
why
this way.
we had
Yeah.
to develop asking. Like Quincy would say something, and you could tell by the look on my face that I was getting mad. And he would go, okay, wait, time out. This is what I said, but what did you hear me
Exactly.
say? Because
That's it.
your face
Exactly.
is telling me you didn't catch what I just said the right way.
Yep.
And then we have to like volley it back and forth until I understand exactly what he's trying to tell me, because we joke that we have a thing called speed bump. We had to come up with what
call
was
buzzwords.
because I have 8 kids, and at any given time, I manage the household. I manage everybody's schedule. I know who has to be where because I'm the taxi driver. I have to know where everybody is and what's going on. And he would call me in the middle of the day and be like, "Hey, babe, can you do this for me?" And it would shut down my entire day because I had my day planned. I know what I'm supposed to do. And now you need me to stop what I'm doing, load up a bunch of people in my car and go handle this for you, and then come back to finish my day. And if my day doesn't get finished, I feel guilty about it. I get frustrated about it. And it would get us into an argument because I want to help you. I want
Right.
to do the things you're asking me to do. I don't want to say no to you because that's what I agreed to do was help you. But in my mind, I was getting angry because every time something would come up, it would be like, dude, I can't just stop my brain in the middle of my day and be like, oh, yeah, here, let's deviate to this. It doesn't work. And so we had to come up with a buzzword. So for a long time, and we haven't had to use it as much
Not as
recently,
much
but
lately,
if there's something big, like if there's I'm not coming home tonight. He works out of town a couple nights a week. And if he knows like I'm not going to make it home tonight, he'll text me, speed bump. And it's like, okay, now I know I got to get into the mindset. Hold on, stop what I'm doing, get myself ready to listen because I'm probably not going to like what's coming. It's probably going to shift everything for me. And then I can tell him, okay, I'm cool. What is it? And he'll tell me. And it sounds so silly when we talk about it. But if we hadn't put those little things into our communication, I mean, something so small as, hey, can you go to the post office for me could turn into a really big argument. Because I would give him every reason why I can't do what you need me
Right.
to do right now.
Right.
And then for him, it's so simple. Just go to the post office. It's not a big
Right.
deal. It takes
It's
like
the-
5 minutes.
It's the
But
filter, right? It's that tossing that
It's
football
that-
back and forth. So he's tossing you the football. Hey, just go to the post office, and you're
like, pow.
I got
I'm
my
like,
back turned, man. I ain't even looking at you. You throwing a ball I can't even see coming.
Yeah,
right,
it's
right.
there's a big misconception that comes along, with that, and it's like, well, I would feel like you're not prioritizing, what I need, and then it would be like, well, it just must be a matter of you don't want to do this, and so it caused conflict between us.
Absolutely.
Because I would tell Coach Reed, it's like, hey, I'm no genius, but I can accomplish, X, Y, or Z. And so I don't really think this matters to her. But then it gave me more insight to who my wife is. It helped me learn more about who she is as a human being, what her strengths are. And so it allowed me to more effectively communicate and prepare her for things that are a challenge for her. Now, the things that are a challenge for me are not a challenge for her, which
Exactly.
God is so good that he puts you together. And well, you're weak here and you're weak here, but
Exactly.
you guys are strong here. And so it helps kind of bring harmony to your relationship. But if you're so self-absorbed, it gets to the point where you can become so selfish that you have no compassion or empathy for your spouse, and figuring out, well, how can we do X, Y, or Z better? What can we do to foster better communication in our relationship? You just go back to you go to your corner, I'll go to mine. And the next thing you know, we'll come and fight it out again and nothing changes. You get in the cycle. And so the value you talk about when it comes to communication, it's brilliant. And I think that's a great segue into talking about your book, because I want you guys to share, your book with us. And it's Manifest a Joy-Filled Relationship. I love it.
Absolutely. I mean, and when we're talking about relationships, right, we could go on and on. So as I was saying, we came up with Manifest a Joy-Filled Relationship because, as you're saying, it's so easy to let life dictate how your relationship is going to be, right? So we decided to come up with the manifest framework. And so that stands for mindset. And as we talked about, awareness, right?
Yeah.
Nurturing your relationship. What is your intention for your relationship? Also, how do we stay focused on each other, the relationship, what's important to us without letting challenges, just get in the way. And then empowering you or us or any couple to take hold of their relationship. And then it strengthens us by the tools, the techniques, the things that we do. And then the whole point is to transform, which you guys have done and we have done. We've transformed our relationship from where it was to where we need it to be, right? So do you want to come in on anything?
Yeah, I just want to touch on the mindset portion of it. It refers to it's a mentality, it's an attitude, it's a frame of mind, and that kind of leads us to one of the laws that we talk about, which is law of cause and effect. It is that every action produces an equivocal reaction.
Exactly.
And that means that every positive or negative interaction leaves an imprint on your relationship, which is influencing your level of intimacy, trust, and emotional safety. So,
Amen.
And that's just the start of it, right? That's just the just the crust of it. But it's a mindset, it's a awareness, and this is all individual work, right? So if you really want to have a joy-filled relationship, it starts with you. It's funny because someone had purchased the book, and then they emailed us back and they said, so we just read the introduction, and my understanding is it's me. And I said, yeah, 100%, it is you.
Right?
Yeah, I said, so if you fix you, you'll fix all the relationships that you're in, because you're pretty dominant in the relationships that you're in. So, yeah, if
And
you
it's
fix
just
yourself,
funny
you
how that
fix
works.
them. Isn't it?
and it's the mindset, because it really is important for us to shift the way we see things. You talked about the speed bump, right? If you don't put an effective tool on how to shift your mindset, because it could have continued that way. But you were like, okay, hey, look, this is what's going on in my day, and this is what's going on with me. And the thing is that we filter our experiences, what's going on with us, and it really has nothing to do with our partner.
Nope.
Right? So she's saying, hey, I can't go to the post office, and you're like, she just doesn't care. And
right.
it's not those things at all. It's just that,
Right.
how do I shift my perspective? How do I start doing things that we can effectively communicate? We both understand, what's going on with each other. The big key is, how do I step back, shift my mindset, shift my perspective, have empathy, understand how do we communicate? When we start implementing different tools and techniques that make our relationships better, it's just a matter of shifting the way you think. Just, hey, how do I show up differently?
So-
What do I need to, I'm not always right, or
All right.
why do I feel...
I can see what's going to get clipped already.
So just really shifting how we see things. And the problem is, most people who get married, most people who get married, it's their first time, right? So we don't know what marriage is. We've never done
right.
it before. We know how to ride a bike. If we fall, we know what to do. We know how to self-correct. But in marriage, we don't do that. We don't take the time to say, how do I self-correct? Not my husband, not my wife. It's not them. I need them to change. And the truth is, it's not the situation, because the situation can change and you can still show up the same way. It's how do I change? How do I see it differently so that I can react differently? Like Jason said, cause and effect. What am I doing that's causing these effects? What am I saying? So it's just really understanding that marriages it can be joyous when we take the time to take our eye off our partner and put it on ourselves. That's really the key.
So the book is all about knowledge, but here's the thing. Knowledge is good, but applied knowledge is even better. So if you
Yes.
can
That's
take
right.
the knowledge that you have and apply it to your life and to your relationship, you'll have a joy-filled relationship. Your life will be so fulfilling. It's just wonderful when you can just live out of your own authentic self and your purpose. Because like
That's
I said,
right.
we just get married. We don't know what we're doing. I didn't know. I mean, we were learning on the job, right? And
That's
then
right.
the kids
That's
came.
right. On the
What
job
we
training.
saw, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, exactly. And all the time, that's not the best teacher because of what we saw. All right. So this is how we do it. We go, I saw this,
I saw my mom do this. I
and
saw
I'm
my
not going
dad
to do this.
And
I'm going to do the extreme. I'm going to the other end of the spectrum.
I'm going the
gonna
other
do
way.
this.
That's right.
right.
That's right.
So,
But that
or
extreme
we-
may not be the best either.
Right,
Depends on what you're coming from.
Yeah, or we normalize what we've saw, right? Well, this is the way my dad always did it, so this is how it should be done. And your
Right.
wife is going, no, that doesn't work for me. And you're like, well, it has to work because it worked for my parents, and
Right. And
this
if
is the way. So we have to understand that, like I said, there's no one size fits all in marriages. We have to first, unpack what it is we think marriage is, then really set in, this is what marriage is, and then how do we co-create the relationship we want, right? How do we together create that joyous relationship? What does it look like for us? Because joyous for us may not look like the same thing for you. So first you have to have a vision for your relationship. How do you want your husband to love you? How do you want your wife to speak to you? How do you want to be touched? So it's, manifest a joy-filled relationship, and it's using universal laws to create your desired relationship, which means that I'm creating it. I'm not looking to my husband. I'm not looking to my mom. I'm not looking to my sister. I'm not looking at somebody else's relationship saying that's what I want, because what they have, I can't have because I'm not that person. I have to create what's right for me, what's right for my husband. So we have to stop looking at, well, they have a great relationship. Well, that may be from the outside, or that may be what works for them. So that's our book, and it's just it's really a framework of how to have a different mindset, how to become aware. And so just using those tools, techniques, we talk about meditation, we talk about heart-mind coherence, which means that if I take the time if my thoughts and my feelings are in alignment with what I want for my marriage, then that's what I'm going to bring forth. But oftentimes we want something different, and we don't send that out.
but you're only going to get what you actually radiate. So whatever your energy is what you're going to get. Someone let me in front of them at the grocery store yesterday, and the person's like, "Oh, that was so nice of them." And I said, I had thanked the person and stuff. It was a lady. She said, "Oh, that's okay. I'm going to be blessed." I said, "Yeah, it was my energy that you felt that allowed you to feel like it was okay to let me go before you, because if I was vibrating a negative energy, I'm sure she wouldn't have let me go in front of her, right? But she felt my presence, she felt my energy, she knew it wasn't threatening, and she's like, just go ahead, because I'm going to be blessed for this." So
she had so much. She had a whole bunch in her cart, and Jason had one thing, and so some people be like, "Nope, I'm going to let them wait." But yeah,
so it's all about energy. So it's not about what you say; it's about what you radiate.
I totally agree, and sometimes in the church, people get weirded out, just about the word manifestation or, energy or
universe,
vibration.
Vibration.
What's really,
scared of people.
It does scare people. But I think that's because it's been hijacked and it's been polluted and it's been misused. But the truth is that, if you look at where Jesus or the disciples or where the Holy Spirit goes, there is something tangible that's there. You can feel joy when you walk into a room. You can feel strife when you walk into a room. Like if things at home have been really difficult for Jeannie and the kids, I can walk in and I can feel
that. Absolutely.
The tension that's there. It's like people say you can cut the tension with a knife. And so we like to talk to our group and say, look, it's time for you, especially dads, and probably because I work outside the home and I come home, I can come home and I can be a thermometer or I can be a thermostat.
Absolutely.
And I can reset the temperature.
Yep.
And so there's a significance, a tremendous amount of significance in what is it that you're putting out. It's like we're all walking around fishing. So what bait are you throwing out? Because that you're likely going to catch what you're fishing for, and you may not even know that's the case. So it's important to know what kind of energy, what kind of life, or what kind of force are you emitting? Because whether you know it or not, you're giving something off. So why not be intentional about what that is. And what, just in the short time that I've got to know you guys, one thing that I'm very confident in is that this is not a book about some things you heard about. This is a book
Absolutely.
about what you've done. And that to me is that is the qualifier. That's the qualifier there, is that you're bringing practical tools and giving people the opportunity to have a connection in their life and their relationship like they have never had before. And it's possible. How do we know it's possible? Because you're sitting right there, and this is a product of who you are. So I commend you guys for writing the book.
Thank you.
Thank
And I
you.
just want to add one more thing. You know, you say it's like taboo, right? You're talking about manifestation and universal laws. And the thing is that it's science. If you look at who we are as a being, we're energy. And it
Yes,
tells
we
you
are.
that in the book. So it breaks it down so that you don't feel like the taboo, because just like we're all taught the law of gravity in school. Am I right? We know about the
Yes,
law
we
of
are.
gravity. So you can go to the top of a
Yes.
building and jump off if you don't want to believe the law of gravity, but it's the law of gravity. It's the law. So whether you believe it or not, it's still going to do what it does. It's going to bring you down. And if you
That's
don't
right.
believe it, you can jump off a building and think you're going to walk in midair. The truth is you're not, because the laws of the universe are the laws of the universe,
That's
because
right.
they're put there because the universe operates in a systematic pattern. Am I right? It doesn't change. We
That's right.
so the laws that we talk about, you can believe them or not believe them, but they're there. The law of cause and effect, what karma, right? What I put out, I'm going to get back. So we think it's some mystical thing, and really it's just science. It's just making people aware, giving them,
That's
when we
right.
talk about mindset, bringing the awareness that these laws exist. And if you use them the way you're supposed to use them, if you go to the top of a building and you realize you can fall and you go back down the stairs, like if you use them the way to your benefit, they can help you to understand, how are my thoughts, my feelings, and my words really interfering with my relationship? As Jeannie said, right? The words that were coming out of my mouth, they weren't helping him, but I was aggravated. I was upset. I was telling him, hey, we don't have enough money. We can't do this. So the words, right? What are the words? And trust me, when she was saying those words, I know the feelings that she was feeling was bringing out it's my thoughts, my feelings, and then how do you receive them? So we have to understand, if I think about my mate in a negative way, it's going to come out my mouth, right? So I'm going to think it first, then I'm going to feel it, then I'm going to express it through my words. So do you think that if I'm telling Jason, hey, I'm tired of you leaving that plate in the bathroom, why can't, is he going to feel love? I have to understand, if my relationship isn't going the way I want it to go, what am I thinking about? What we think about, we bring about. If
That's right.
95% of my thoughts are negative towards my mate, there's no way I'm going to attract some love. There's no way we're going to have love in our relationship. So we can look at these things as taboo, or, they're crazy, or, I don't know. Like you said, people have all these strange feelings about it.
Yeah.
But the truth is that the world operates by laws, right?
Yeah.
Like anything else.
What's funny though is, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You can actually connect the laws to scripture.
Yeah.
'Cause as a man
Absolutely.
thinketh, so is he.
Every law is connected to
You're going to
scripture.
reap what you sow. If you're
Yep.
going to, thinking of adultery is the same as the act thereof. There are so many things that you can back up scripturally that are in the laws of the universe. And that the funny thing is, when you say universe, people cringe. And it's like, but if you really, if you really, truly, honest to God, believe your book, okay, you believe your Bible, and you really think about it, what is the universe? Where did it come from? You're connecting to the same thing. It's just your verbiage is stuck. We have our autistic daughter. For the longest time, we couldn't tell her, turn the light off. If you said turn the light off, her brain did not connect all the words. Her brain heard light and off. That was it. But if you told her to turn, she's trying to turn, not flip.
Right.
Yeah.
If you tell her don't touch that, she heard touch that. She didn't hear don't. Certain words didn't click. It didn't, for whatever reason, her mind is wired differently. We had to change the verbiage. Light stays on. Okay, we're not telling you to turn the light on. We're not telling you don't touch. We're telling you leave it alone. She leaves a light on. It's how you're filter perceives what's coming in and what's going out. If you can set aside the fact that it doesn't specifically say God, it doesn't specifically say what scripture it came from. Everything was created from the same thing, but everybody perceives it differently. Science is just trying to prove to those who can't get past the fact that there is something greater and show how it got here, how it works. It's just putting the pieces together for people who don't necessarily believe the same way.
And I think it could go even further back. I think it comes from, because the law, the universe, this is what's been there. And this is who we are. So when someone says, oh, I caught the Holy Spirit, it's such a great thing, right? But if you say Spirit spoke to me, people are like, oh my God, you spoke to the Spirit. It's still Spirit. It's like, so it's just, like you said, it's a matter of what you say, but it doesn't change. We are spirit. We are energy, and it's all connected. And I think it's, and if we read certain books, it says that the power lies in understanding what the power we have. So I think it's also, you know, and I don't want to step out of line here, but certain religions have conformed us to want us to think the way the person who leads the church or leads the religion.
That's
so
right.
I don't want you to think you have more power than me. So I'm going to limit your knowledge, and hey, we don't say this, we don't, and it's not your thoughts, it's what you've been taught. So when we become aware, you know, then we can say, well, wait a minute, what's really going on? Who am I as a being? So it's so many different dynamics that plays a part with that. Just like you said, oh, well, you know, if you go to the Church of God in Christ, no lipstick, no tattoos, no weird hair. But what is that? That's man's law. Right? That's what they have established, because they want you to conform so that they can hold. So, and like I said, it's a fine line, but it's more about control. If I can control what you think and what you do, then I have control over you. But
that's why we almost didn't get married.
I can.
I'm dead serious. We almost didn't get married because of that.
I think it actually kind of goes even a step further. I can control you to make sure you keep coming back.
Yep.
Because we need you to
control.
keep coming
it's
back.
Control.
And
it's
so
the fear. It's the fear.
Yeah.
You know, we allow, as people, we allow fear to rule us. If I'm not in control, then that means that, you know, X, Y, and Z. And we can put a lot of things in that blank, right? But it's really, as you said, just understanding, being open to who are we? It's science. It's science. So when we talk about the laws and the people and what you're doing, it's just to get you to be aware that we do have power, and how we use our power makes a difference. I can use my power to say my husband is terrible and my marriage stinks, or I can use my power to say, hey, I need to become aware of my actions and change them. It's just a matter of understanding, what are we doing that's not in alignment with what we want? And that's pretty much what the book is about.
That's right. And I think, you know, just another line of beauty that comes along with it is the author of those laws is the author of the Bible as well.
Author of life.
I mean,
Yep.
That's right. He's the one that wrote those. And that's why I love it. I heard in another one of your podcasts where you use the law of gravity. It's like, you can deny it's there. But if you trip and fall, you are acutely aware that it is there.
You know, and or so people want to use the law of attraction, like the law of attraction. Everybody you know, I'm going to use the law of attraction to manifest, you know, the right guy and the right this and the right
money
that.
And the cars.
And we don't understand. We really don't understand the law of attraction. So yes, you can attract the right guy, but it may not be the right guy for you. So
or
you're thinking, I want
the right guy.
Right. So I want a woman who's, you know, 5'6" and this, that, and the other, and is just so loving and so kind. So she comes, and then you're unkind, you're unapologetic, you're unempathetic, you know. So she's not going to stay. We have to understand what the law of attraction really means. You are really attracting what you are. So people say, well, how do I keep getting the same type of guy? Because you're the same type of girl. You are attracting, despite what you want. If you don't change what's on the inner, it's going to come out. So what's in the inner is always going to show up in the outer. And that, you know, everything is related to God, right? It's just like, if it can go further and further. So
No. I'm with you, and it just lends credibility to what you guys are talking about. And I just want to emphasize these things are already present in your life. Now, you get a hold of this book, and their life is representative of the work that went into it. And so, since these things are already present in your life, and your outward life is a manifestation of what your inner life is, why not bring this book into your life so that you can start to learn how to use these laws to create the life that you want to live. It's already happening. These things are already manifest in your life.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, you look at what somebody has created, somebody that has experience in this particular level, whether it's football coaches or whatever, there's a track record there.
exactly.
And so that is what your book is, a track record of what you guys have created for your relationship, sharing it with us. And I really, really appreciate you guys doing so. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
And it's exactly what you guys did, right? You sought out coaching. And the coach said, hey, this is what you need to do. And as Jason said, now you got the knowledge. What are you going to do with it? So you guys were manifesting an unhealthy relationship. But it wasn't until you realized, so those things that she told you, hey, do this. These are just, you can call them laws, you can call them techniques, you can call them things that work. But it took you to shift your mindset to say, hey, that makes sense. Well, let's start trying this. Let's start applying this. Let's put in speed bumps, because before it wasn't working. It's just figuring out what works for you. And you can name it whatever you like.
Whatever you like. That's right. That's right. That's right. It's sometimes, and we're Christians, but we don't do a Christian podcast. We want to cast the net, as broadly as possible.
I
But
totally
for those
agree.
people,
I know what you mean.
for the people listening, I just wanted to give them the caveat that, manifestation, these are not words that are scary. These are words that actually, like you even said, Miss Tina Marie, it's gravity. It's there. It exists. And your life is a product of what this book is about. And you guys learning about these laws, how to apply them to your life and your relationship, and, just the chemistry you guys have in this conversation we're having over dinner right now.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
tells
that
you
be nice, right?
Yeah. It tells you that, you guys are a product of what you believe. And so I've really enjoyed this time together. Now, there's a few things that we haven't covered that I would love for you to cover. You said you're a keynote speaker, so I'd love to hear briefly about that. You guys have a podcast, you have a book, you have a website. Sounds like you do coaching. Talk to us about all the things that you guys do, and then I'll throw your website up for everybody to see. But I really want them to know, just a little bit more about you, and then I will help them find out how to connect with you.
Okay, I'll let you go ahead with the speaking.
Okay, so we are keynote speakers, which means we do come in and we talk to couples as well as individuals. So oftentimes, if we can get it right before we get into the relationship, that makes it even better.
Right.
So we do keynotes on understanding the dynamics of relationships, what's not healthy and what is healthy, how to unpack your past, because our past experiences have a lot to do with who we are as an individual. And so it's not all the time that we understand just how important our past plays. So we come in and we do workshops, we do seminars. We had one workshop on Couples on Fire, where we're doing actual hands-on techniques and tools and helping couples really succeed in the area of relationships. And so we were just doing married, but we do individuals too. So we do people who are in committed relationships. We do people who are dating. We do people who are single and want to attract the right mate this time instead of the wrong mate.
That's
so
right.
Right? So we got to get it right.
Divorce, right?
Or divorced.
So yeah.
So that was the keynote.
And then the coaching on our website, we have all of the coaching options and things that we have. But here's the thing about coaching, especially for us. You have to be ready to come to get real and actually roll your sleeves up and not play. Because we don't play with this stuff, right? We seen this stuff manifest, right? So the things that I have in my life is the things that I've thought and I've said and I've felt. That's what's showing up in my life. If something shows up in my life that I know that I don't want anymore, or if it's not benefiting me, I have to change myself from the inside. I have to change the way I think, say, and do. And that's how I can change my life. So if you're ready to do that kind of stuff and that kind of work, it's very rewarding. You'll be very happy with your life. That's what we're about.
So when we talk about coaching, I often tell people it's like, like our kids were on the baseball team, and we would take them. The coach can tell you your strength, your weaknesses, and our job as a coach is to teach you how to succeed in marriage. So what am I doing? Am I standing wrong? So we're talking about baseball. Am I holding the bat wrong? Am I standing wrong? Am I not having enough power when I go through the ball? Like, tell me what I'm doing wrong. And then, so our job as a coach is to come in and coach you on how to succeed in life. All right. And then what was the other one? Our podcast?
A podcast, yeah. And we just talk about all the stuff.
We talk about everything, and we get real. It's real conversations because our goal is to help people understand that these are happening in relationships. There's nothing new under the sun. Guarantee the issues that you have, I may have, or another couple has.
New.
So it's about just shedding light that it's okay. It's not, again, a taboo to talk about relationships. We've been taught to don't tell anybody what's going on in your relationship, and that's why we struggle. So the point is that if you can come and share with me some of the things that wasn't working and what you did to make them work, then you can help another couple that may be going through that. So it's just about sharing. It's a community. Let's share what we know so that we can grow.
And then you can just contact us on all our socials. That's TikTok. We're everywhere. We're at Legendary Relationship. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, Pinterest, LinkedIn, all at Legendary Relationship.
Was that it? I think was that everything?
That's great. The last thing I want to talk about is Friday night.
Oh,
what happens on
Friday
Friday
night
nights?
Yeah,
That's right.
Oh,
Friday
wait,
Night
one more
Live.
thing. We have a free resource for your viewing audience.
Yes.
Okay, so if they want to
We have 20 emotional intimacy questions, fire starters, right? Free. So you can just go to legendaryrelationship.com/EI for emotional intimacy. And then that way you can grab the 20 questions. And it's really, they're deep questions, right?
just to help you gauge where you
Right.
are.
It's a monologue type starter, right? Dialogue. So we just want, not a monologue, it's a dialogue. It's a dialogue. So monologue is what I do with myself, right?
Right? Talk to yourself.
Preach, baby. Preach.
Quincy's specialty.
Right. He's walking through the house and I'm like, Jason, are you talking to me? Nope, talking to myself.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope,
All
just
right.
getting myself ready. So so that's
right.
just the way to get things started between you and your mate.
So that's just a free resource. We have free ebooks. We have a free 14-day challenge just to help get couples started. So we have a lot of different resources. You can find our book there. So just go and check it out and just start the conversation. If things aren't the way you want them to be in your relationship, you have to be the one that starts the ball rolling.
So back to the
That's
Friday
right.
Night Live.
Friday Night Live. Did you have a question?
Actually, I had a comment because I looked up the book, and the book is also available on Kindle Unlimited, which means that if you have the Kindle Unlimited subscription, you can get the book downloaded into your database on your phone, which is great because I have Kindle Unlimited, so I read all the time.
Yep.
But that's so you don't necessarily have to get the hardback if you don't want it sitting on your coffee table. You can put it in your phone or in your Kindle, and it's still. Some people don't like people to know that they're working on stuff, so I always kind of throw those out there when I find it. You know, they want to work on themselves, but they don't want to be sitting in a doctor's office with the book in front of them. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And this book is all about self-work.
Yep.
It's about personal development. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
And when you change and show up different, everything changes and shows up differently. But our Friday Night Live. So we have a podcast that comes out on Wednesday.
And then we have a Friday night where we engage with the audience. So you get to see all of our mess ups and everything and all of our input.
We don't do that. No, it's
That's
just
right.
We don't know what that's all about. We don't know nothing about that.
It's just a really good conversation.
It is,
So
and we draw in the community, and they ask questions, and we give answers. And I'm like, don't ask questions that you may not be ready to accept
That's
the
right.
answers to.
That's
because
right.
I mean, like we just tell how it is. It's like
And-
if people say things, and it's just like, well, it's showing up because this is what you kind of manifest. They go, I didn't bring this. I'm like, okay, well, who else did? It's your life.
That's right.
So it's just
That's
about,
right.
again, sharing.
Yeah.
It's about sharing. We have guests on to share their experiences, their challenges and how they overcame them, or what works and what doesn't work, or whatever it's meant to share. We have questions. And so it's really an opportunity for us to engage with our community so that it's not a time lapse. So sometimes people may listen to our podcast or people may have seen us before and then they have a question. So what we did is instead of, answering emails, hey, join us on the live and let's talk about it. But the
That's right.
downside of, so it's great, but sometimes I want people to know, yes, your name is attached to your question, but just ask it anyway. So many
I
people
always say,
That's
just ask for a friend. That's it.
say, I want to know
Yep.
for a friend. My friend next to me on the line is saying this. What should I tell her, right? So don't be afraid to ask difficult questions because
That's
they
right.
require an answer. So many times we're so afraid of what people may think that we're not willing, as you said, right? We're sitting in the doctor's office and we don't want people to know, hey, she's reading a book, because people are nosy. Hey, what are you reading over there? What is that all about? So it's about, hey, come ready to just ask, be yourself, kick off your shoes, and let's just chill. Let's have a real adult conversation about relationships, about how many times we should have sex, or what is sex, or what is intimacy? What does that look like to your mate, and what does that look like to you? And what is this? Let's just be real, because relationships are real.
That's right. That's right. I love it. I love it, and I am so happy you guys are doing this. And people are coming and they're going to ask questions, and I encourage people to say, "Hey, just give it a try. Just ask." I mean, otherwise, how serious are you about your relationship changing? And the question that you ask could lead to someone else's freedom as well. So why not ask the question? I mean, there's always the email address if you want to keep it quiet, but I think it's I'm glad that we're pushing the envelope, or actually tearing the envelope up. These things should not be taboo. They should not be taboo, and we should be able to talk about them. And that, just strengthening the family, strengthening marriage, strengthening relationships, strengthening our inner being, so that we can bring the best version of who we are to relationships, to work, to whatever we're doing. And you guys are really doing that in a great way. And I really, truly commend you and appreciate you for being a part of the solution. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's
It was,
great.
and I know we all know we can talk about relationships probably to the end of the earth, but thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
this
you.
has been great.
It's about this understanding, getting with other couples to just spread the word that all relationships go through trials and tribulations. But hey, let's offer some kind of solutions. Let's talk about it. Let's see what's working for you. And if it resonates with you, take it. If not, take a piece of it and just try it. So thank you so much for having us on. We truly appreciate it.
You are welcome. Yeah, that's in our group. It's what we call eat the meat and spit out the bones. And
There you
it's
go.
a very
That's
it's
it.
a very effective process. Any final words from you, Brother Jason?
Let me see. Nope. I think, maybe. Yeah. I always have something to say.
That's right. Come on.
Listen, one, I want to say thank you. That was a wonderful email that you sent back, and you thanked me for the space that we were in and what we were doing. Thank you so much. I sent out a lot of info, and sometimes I get no response, but that's okay. I mean, that's just how it is. This is something that God put on my heart to do, and that's what I'm doing. You reach out. So again, thank you so much for those kind words. Thank you for bringing us on and letting us present to your audience, and thank you so much. Man versus Marriage. I mean, that's just wonderful. I said, oh man, I don't know if Tina can come on Man versus Marriage, because this looked like,
A man thing.
right.
Nope.
Well, and you guys, I just want to let you know, you're welcome back on the program anytime. You have another book coming out, you have something going on, you're a friend to this program. So you're welcome anytime. And Jason, if you ever want to do just a dudes episode, let me know. We can put it together. Or if Miss Tina Marie and Miss Jeannie Marie want to do an episode themselves, whatever it is,
We probably would never get off.
I'm just saying.
Well, it has been a pleasure to have you guys on the program, and I'm glad we did it in this open discussion. Let's get to know each other, type of an atmosphere. Like you said, over dinner, and I'm just thrilled. It's been a great time. Again, thank you guys for what you're doing. Really appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime. Make sure you guys know, I want to make sure that you know how to get in touch with them. And I really wish I'd have put a picture of your website up. Forgive me that I didn't. It's very nicely done. There's video playing in the background. Very professional, very posh, very beautiful.
I did it myself. Thank you.
Man, that's right. I like it. I like it. Even though you can see too that, transparently, we're working on, we just got into video a couple of months ago. We've been doing everything audio. And so we are going to put together a studio. Right now we're doing it via a couple of webcams, but I love what you guys have going on there, with the background, the quality. It speaks to what you guys do and what you're about. So kudos there.
Thank you.
We're still rednecking things, but we're getting there.
We are still rednecking it. I like it.
But here's the funny
Progress.
thing. You heard that, right, honey? Okay, because I'm kind of a gearhead, right? So she like, you're buying another this and another that, and I'm like, babe, we have to.
We have so much and sometimes with these HD cameras, I'm like, I may not want to show all my imperfections. Can we just keep it right?
I'm with you. I am so with you. He keeps moving the camera closer, and I'm like, can we please?
Exactly.
I don't want to see my own face. I want it over there.
Well, that's
they
good.
don't get that. I think they like it. I'm like, Jason, can we just back it up?
I come in, I'm all excited. Babe, I got this camera. Let's get do this.
I'm like, I can
She's like,
see
we're
my
finding what we
freckles.
have.
No.
Right.
Well, I can't wait to talk to you more about that as I get our studio set up. Because I'm not as great at it as I could be, as you can tell. But
Progress. Hey, progress.
Yeah.
You're
That's
getting
right.
there.
It's more about the content.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I sure
content is
appreciate you
great.
guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been great to have you. Honey, great episode. Hour and 41 minutes. What do you think? I really enjoyed it.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we will have to do that again. So make sure that you guys go and you check out legendaryrelationship.com. Go to I'm going to put in the show notes. I'm going to put a link to their book. And Kindle Unlimited's cool, but walk around with this book. Get out there and show people.
It's not that. Don't take that as a dig. The reason I said that is because when I go places, I don't always carry a book with me. I don't always grab it on my way out the door. But if I have my phone that has my Kindle Unlimited on it, I have my book with me wherever I go, and I can select whatever I want to read.
I agree.
And so that's why I brought it up, because I know a lot of people, that's the only way they buy books is Kindle Unlimited. So
I got you. And I'm not dogging you. I'm just saying, hey, be bold enough to get the book and go out.
I'll bite you.
I was picking on the coward that was only going to do it on Kindle out there in the world somewhere. Anyway, that is it for this episode of Man vs. Marriage. Honey, anything you want to add?
Nope.
Okay. Well, you made that easy on me. All right. She is Jeannie Moran. I am Quincy Moran. And this is Man vs. Marriage, the podcast.